On my first day back after surgery, my boss slammed a stack of papers on my desk. "We didn't miss you, so don't act like you matter now." I looked up, still in pain, and whispered, "I just need a minute." She laughed loud enough for the whole office to hear. "You can cry on your own time, not ours." That night, I printed something she thought she'd deleted years ago. I haven't shown it yet, but it's ready. I work, or used to work, in downtown Cleveland, Ohio. Our building was one of those squat, gray concrete things from the 70s, all stained walls and flickering fluorescent lights. You'd miss it if you blinked. I was in corporate HR at a third-party logistics company. Think freight management, warehouse staffing, inventory systems. Most of my job involved payroll issues, audits, and people problems upper management didn't want to touch. Before all this started, I'd been with the company for 9 years. And I used to love my job. That changed the day Dana Foster became my boss. I'll never forget when she first walked into our office. Tall, loud, perfectly pressed navy slacks, and a mouth that dripped sarcasm like it was perfume. She transferred in from corporate HQ in Chicago and took over our HR division like she was queen of the damn castle. Her very first day, she had us tear down the framed company values from the break room. Said they were too soft. No one liked her. But no one crossed her either. Dana was the kind of boss who smiled with her teeth and mocked you with her eyes. If you came in sick, she'd say you were being dramatic. If you took a vacation day, she'd make comments about your work ethic in meetings. She'd call out mistakes in front of the entire team, use constructive feedback, like a weapon, and praise only those who kissed her ass hard enough. And somehow she zeroed in on me from day one. Maybe it was because I was older than her. I was 47 and she couldn't have been more than 35. Maybe it was because I wasn't afraid to ask questions in meetings or challenge her policies that made no sense. Whatever the reason, she picked me as her personal punching bag. It got worse after my surgery. I'd had fibroid tumors that required abdominal surgery. It was painful and the recovery took longer than expected. I was out for almost 5 weeks, and every day of that medical leave, I worried about returning to a job where my boss barely tolerated me. I'd heard rumors that Dana was using my absence to streamline our department. What I didn't know was that she'd completely erased me. The day I came back, it was like I didn't exist. She didn't even look up when I walked in. I had a small cubicle in the back of the floor, and when I sat down, still sore, still wearing a surgical binder under my work blouse, there was a stack of reports, audits, and emails waiting. About 3 minutes in, Dana came by. She didn't say hello. She just dropped another stack of paper on my desk so hard that it knocked over my water bottle. Then she said it, "We didn't miss you, so don't act like you matter now." I blinked up at her, stunned. My stitches had barely healed. I was still trying to catch my breath. I could feel my abdomen tighten from the impact of the paper stack. "I just need a minute," I whispered. My voice cracked. I wasn't trying to be dramatic, I just needed to sit for a second. The pain was still raw. That's when she laughed. Loud. Mean. Made sure the whole office heard it. "You can cry on your own time, not ours." People looked up from their desks. Some stared. Most looked away. That was the moment I realized something inside me had shifted. That night, I went home, took a painkiller, and turned on my old work laptop, the one I had saved from 3 years ago, back when I worked in compliance before my role changed. I remembered something. Back in 2021, Dana had transferred to our division briefly for a project that never really took off. At the time, she was a special consultant from Chicago HQ. And she made a huge mess, changed passwords, deleted files, ignored deadlines. One afternoon, I caught her in the file room tossing out hard copies of personnel files. She smiled and said, "Oops, I'm cleaning house." But the thing about corporate file servers is, if you know how to set up backups, not everything goes away. Back then, I was part of a small IT compliance pilot, and we had a mirrored backup of HR systems for 6 months while we tested some data retention policies. That meant I had a copy of everything she deleted, just buried in a secure local drive that nobody knew still existed. So I went digging. And that's when I found it. A hidden memo. A memo Dana had written in 2021 when she was still a consultant. In it, she openly discussed removing low-performing employees and scrubbing records that could pose reputational risk. She even named people. Names of employees who were later laid off without explanation, one of whom was a single mother fighting cancer. Dana wrote things like, "Need to accelerate exit plan for J.L. Too many medical excuses. May file ADA complaint if not handled properly. Consider cause-based termination." There were others. More than a dozen employees she'd marked for elimination, all while positioning herself for a full-time leadership role. She never meant for anyone to see that memo. She thought she'd deleted it. But I had it. I didn't show it right away. I wanted to be smart. Calculated. I started documenting everything. Every snide remark she made. Every assignment where she set me up to fail. Every time she CC'd leadership on emails questioning my professionalism. And all the while I smiled. I did my job. I acted like nothing was wrong. But I was building something. I printed the memo. Stored copies in a safe deposit box. One at my sister's house. One with my attorney. I started talking to others who had been pushed out. And little by little I learned the truth. Dana didn't just make my life hell. She'd ruined careers. Destroyed reputations. Even cost one woman her home after falsifying performance reviews that led to a firing. That woman had a nervous breakdown. I had to stop. But I wasn't going to report it to HR. Dana was HR. I had a different plan. After I found the memo and started digging, it became clear. Dana had buried more than just my confidence. She had buried people. Over the next few weeks, I worked silently. Like a ghost. I came in on time, left on time, smiled at coworkers, and nodded politely at Dana's insults. She still mocked me, usually in the morning, sometimes after meetings. "You're lucky we didn't fill your job," she'd say. Or, "Don't screw this up like before your little vacation." She called my surgery a vacation. The days blurred together, but at night I stayed focused. I pulled every file from the old backups. Anything with her name on it. I started noticing patterns. Falsified reviews, suspicious employee behavior reports, and fake documentation of warnings that were never actually issued. Some of those people had tried to fight back. But Dana was smart. She always covered her tracks. And she was close with one of the directors, Tom Valens, head of operations. They had a long-standing mentor relationship, but everyone in the office whispered about late-night drinks, shared hotel rooms during conferences, and why Dana always seemed untouchable. Tom protected her. And she knew it. Then something happened I didn't expect. About 6 weeks after I came back, the company rolled out a new HR system. During the transition, I got access to legacy employee files that Dana never transferred over, probably because she didn't want them seen. And that's when I found it. A payout report. 3 years ago, right after Dana became permanent HR lead, the company quietly settled with an ex-employee named Rhonda Price. The report showed a $48,000 payment for employment-related resolution, but there was no context. I called Rhonda. I still had her number in my contacts from when we used to work together. She didn't answer the first time. Or the second. On the third try, I left a voicemail. "Hey, it's Elise from corporate HR. I found something I think you should know about. It's about Dana. Please call me back." She called the next morning. Her voice shook when she spoke. "I thought they told you not to contact me." I told her I wasn't there to hurt her. I told her I found the payout record. She went silent for a full minute. Then she whispered, "I still have the pictures." "What pictures?" She wouldn't say over the phone. But she agreed to meet me in person at a Panera in Parma. That meeting changed everything. Rhonda looked older than I remembered. She'd lost weight and her hands shook when she stirred her tea. She pulled out a manila envelope from her purse and slid it across the table. Inside were 6 printed photos, blurry, grainy but clear enough. Photos of Dana and Tom Valens in his office. Door cracked open. Dana on his lap. Another showed her leaving a hotel room at a leadership retreat, barefoot, wearing his jacket. But the real bomb was the email Rhonda printed out. She had forwarded it to her personal email before being let go. It was from Dana to Tom, dated 4 years ago. It read, "If you can get legal to approve the severance, I'll make sure Rhonda signs the NDA. She's too emotional to risk a court fight." The payout wasn't to protect Rhonda. It was to shut her up. I asked Rhonda why she never went public. She looked me in the eye and said, "Because I didn't think anyone would believe me. They made me feel crazy." I promised her that wasn't going to happen again. The next day I started talking to more people. I found out Dana had used performance reviews as a weapon, especially against women who challenged her or didn't play her games. One had been written up for insubordination, because she corrected a spreadsheet formula. Another was fired for time theft, because she stayed late and logged hours manually. Then I hit the jackpot. An old employee, Marcus, had been let go after complaining about a toxic supervisor environment. HR dismissed his claims. But he had saved emails too, emails where Dana mocked his depression and told him to man up in writing. He never showed them to anyone. He said he was scared it would ruin his chances of getting another job. I asked if he'd let me use them. He agreed. I now had The hidden memo from Dana with names and elimination plans, the NDA payout and email about silencing Rhonda, photos of Dana and Tom in compromising positions, emails mocking a staff member's mental health performance reviews with falsified timestamps. I still hadn't done anything with it yet. But Dana must have sensed something. She started acting different. Cold, yes, but cautious. She watched me more closely, asked questions like, "You doing okay? You seem tense." Tense? I wanted to throw a chair. But I smiled and said, "Just staying focused. I want to be better." She smirked. And then she made her move. One Friday, right before close of business, I got called into a meeting with her and Tom. It wasn't scheduled. They said they needed to discuss some recent concerns. Dana slid a paper across the table. It was a performance plan. "You've been underperforming since your return," she said calmly. "This is a formal notice. 3 weeks to improve or we reevaluate your employment." I stared at the paper. Everything on it was a lie. Fabricated deadlines, missed follow-ups, miscommunications that she had caused. Tom looked down at the table. Didn't say much. "Dana?" She leaned back and crossed her legs like she'd just won a bet. She thought she had me. She thought I'd panic. But I didn't. I signed the paper. Then I went home, pulled everything I had, every file, every picture, every email, and sent it in a single file folder to 3 places. 1. The company's anonymous whistleblower hotline, which logs all complaints and flags them for outside compliance audits. 2. A local labor attorney who specializes in wrongful termination and workplace discrimination. 3. A journalist I knew from college who now works at the Plain Dealer. I used a private burner email for each drop. I signed them with 2 words, "Check everything." 3 days after I sent the files, everything was quiet. Too quiet. I came into the office on Monday morning expecting a storm. But Dana wasn't there. Her office light was off. No email. No messages. Around noon, we got a company-wide email from corporate. Effective immediately, Dana Foster is no longer with the company. All HR matters will be directed to the interim manager. That was it. No explanation. No goodbye. Gone. People whispered, of course. Theories flew across the break room like wildfire. Some said she quit, others said she was promoted, but deep down, everyone knew something bad had happened. I kept my head down. Didn't say a word. But inside, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. I thought it was over. But then came the ripple effect. 2 weeks after Dana was fired, Tom Valens resigned. I found out from one of the finance girls that he'd been walked out of the building, box in hand, red in the face, barely speaking. Apparently, corporate had been doing a quiet internal audit for months, and my file dump kicked everything into high gear. The journalist I tipped off? She ran the story after confirming multiple NDAs and contacting former employees. It ran in the Plain Dealer under the headline, "Toxic Culture and Quiet Payouts," inside a Cleveland company's HR scandal. It was front page. Dana's name was in the article. So was Tom's. But mine? I stayed anonymous. Rhonda was quoted, though. She finally had her voice back. So was Marcus. The company tried to spin the story as legacy issues being addressed, but they couldn't control it. Once the article went live, dozens of former employees started posting on LinkedIn and Twitter about their experiences. Some even shared their own evidence. Emails, notes, memos. It was a damn flood. Within a month, the company's CEO was forced to hold a press conference. Shareholders started asking questions. Corporate announced a full internal review of HR practices. Lawsuits followed. At least 4 former employees filed official complaints with the EOC. Me. I got offered a settlement. Quiet. Generous. But tied to an NDA. I turned it down. I didn't want their money. I wanted the truth to stay loud. That's when the real damage hit Dana. Turns out, after being fired, she tried applying for work in Chicago again. No one would touch her. HR forums were already buzzing. Her name was linked to the article. She tried to remove herself from Google results, but once it's out there, it stays. A few weeks later, I heard she moved back to Springfield to stay with her brother. And then one night I got a message on LinkedIn. It was from her. Dana Foster. Her message was short. "Was it you? I know it was. You think you're better than me? You just destroyed 2 careers. I hope you feel good." I didn't respond, but I read it 5 times. She still didn't understand. Still didn't feel sorry. That's what stayed with me. And yet, I did feel something. Not joy. Not victory. Something else. Maybe grief. Because the truth is, I lost something too. I lost nearly a year of sleep. I lost faith in people I used to trust. And maybe the worst part, I lost a piece of myself in that office, in that silence, in all those months I kept my head down just to survive. But I got something back too. Dignity. The week after Tom resigned, I handed in my notice. They begged me to stay, offered a better title, a raise. I said no. I needed a new beginning. I now work at a nonprofit that helps people navigate workplace harassment claims. I do intake. I answer calls. I listen. I help them feel seen. Sometimes someone will describe a situation and I can see Dana all over it. The manipulation, the threats, the gaslighting. I never tell them my story, but I give them the tools to fight, to document, to not stay quiet. Because if I've learned anything, it's this. The most dangerous thing you can do to a person who's been hurt isn't firing them or mocking them or threatening them. It's making them feel invisible. I was invisible for too long. Not anymore.